dynamite. That's right. We return back with Napoleon. If all of you like me saying dynamite, because Napoleon is dynamite, type in the comment section below, all right? Listen, I like saying it, right? So here's the thing. Welcome to Americans Learn. My name is Kit. Please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that ring bell notification. That way all of you made aware when we upload new content upon our YouTube channel. And today we return back to Napoleon in Italy. The battle for Arcole. I hope I said it right. If I got it wrong, I will correct myself right away. But all of you have been saying we like seeing American Learns. Check out Epic History TV, which is awesome. I think it's awesome. I think all of you are awesome. And we're about to see how dynamite Napoleon is, because where we last left off, he's in the fight for his life. He's got to keep his head on a swivel and try and win this detailed uphill battle between Austria and his forces. So grab some water, keep on winning, support Epic History TV. The original link to this video is in the description box below, so please check it out. Support them. If you don't gotta get it, now let's get ready to be dynamite and check this out in a 3, a 2, a 1.
An Epic History TV PMF Productions collaboration. In 1796, at the height of the French Revolutionary Wars, a young French general took charge of a ragged, demoralized army in northern Italy. It was his first command. Many expected him to fail. Instead, in just 1 month, he won his first brilliant campaign. With astonishing self-confidence, boldness and energy, he led his army to victory after victory, transforming the war in Europe, winning praise from a grateful republic, and forging a legend. This is the story of Napoleon Bonaparte's first campaign, and the dawn of a new age.
That's right, Napoleon. You are dynamite.
October 1796. 6 months have passed since General Napoleon Bonaparte took command of the French army of Italy. In that time, he's led a series of brilliant operations against the Austrians and won a string of battles. Now he appears close to final victory. He's driven Austrian field forces off the plains of northern Italy, back towards the Alps, while his troops have the great fortress city of Mantua, the key to Italy, under close siege. Mantua's oversized Austrian garrison is nearing starvation and riddled with disease.
God, I only can imagine just how devastating those sieges are. To our audience, if there are books or videos that talk about in detail the siege of, at least sieges during the Napoleonic Wars, type, and share them in the comment section below. We would like to hear them and see them, because, you know, it's one thing to see these numbers, and yes, you know, it's hearing about it verbatim, but I think if we also just know more about it, like what it was like, what more we can check out. If there are books you want to recommend as well, audience, hey, share away, because we all want to get our learn on.
Napoleon appeals to its commander, Field Marshal von Wurmser, to surrender. The brave should be facing danger, not swamp plague, he jibes.
True.
But Wurmser is a tough old veteran. He will not yield while any glimmer of hope remains. And he knows that to the north, Austria is gathering fresh troops to march to his aid. True, many are Grentz battalions, a type of Habsburg frontier militia, poorly drilled and short of officers. But they help raise the strength of the Austrian field army to 44,000. And they have a new general to lead them, Feldzeugmeister, or Lieutenant General, Józef Alvinci. The 61-year-old Hungarian was once military tutor to Emperor Francis himself, and is regarded as diligent, sharp, and brave. he and his staff draw up plans for a fresh offensive to rescue Wurmser and Mantua. Alvinci and Kostanovic will lead the main column, 26,000 strong, from Friuli to Bassano, then onwards to Mantua. Davidovic's corps, reinforced to 18,000, will retake Trento and push south through the Adige Valley. The two forces will link up at the earliest opportunity. Meanwhile, Wurmser, who can muster just 12,000 fit men from the Mantua garrison, will launch powerful sorties to pin down as many French units as possible.
It's a bold tactic. Let's see if it works out.
Napoleon, by contrast, has received very few reinforcements from France. His weary divisions are suffering from shortages and sickness, and will be outnumbered on every front. Alvinci begins his advance on the 22nd of October. The following day, the heavens open, drenching troops, swelling rivers, and reducing roads to mud. For the time being, Napoleon is content to observe the enemy struggle forward in such conditions, knowing the effort will exhaust his infantry and disrupt supplies. On the 2nd of November, fighting breaks out north of Trento, where Napoleon has ordered Vaubois to attack. He wants to keep Davidovich bottled up, but Vaubois is heavily outnumbered, and his attack fails. Vaubois begins pulling back to Calliano, while Massena gives up Bassano and withdraws towards Vicenza. But now Alvinci's advance becomes strung out, slowed by the heavy rain and poor fitness of his recruits.
All right, let's go.
And it is against Napoleon's nature to remain passive for so long. As the Austrians cross the Brenta, he orders Massena to attack General Liptay's division at Fontaniva, while Augereau attacks Hohenzollern at Bassano.
Come on.
The French launch dozens of separate assaults. But for all their poor march discipline, the Austrian recruits stand their ground and fight hard. With around 3,000 casualties on each side, the Second Battle of Bassano is the bloodiest day's fighting so far in the Italian campaign, and a failure for Napoleon. Hours later, he receives dire news from Vaubois. During heavy fighting at Calliano, some Croatian troops get behind the French line, triggering panic and a rout. Vaubois loses nearly half his division, killed, wounded, or missing, before he can regroup at Rivoli.
Come on, Napoleon. You can pull us out of the fire.
The French are falling back on all fronts. And unless Napoleon can conjure something remarkable, he seems destined to suffer a major strategic defeat. This video is sponsored by G2A, the online marketplace for all.
Now, I'm going to fast forward this, but listen to me very carefully, you hip cool cats. Number one, Napoleon and myself would agree on this one term and one term alone. Please support Epic History TV. So go check out their YouTube channel. They got a lot of great content up there. Keep your heads on a swivel. Check it all out. Be sure to follow them on all their social media. Because if you don't, then Napoleon won't think that's dynamite. So, yeah. Let's push forward and check this out. Oh, damn. Napoleon throwing some salt in the wound.
Napoleon's position is perilous, but his enemy's cautious pursuit affords him some respite. 4 whole days pass while Alvinci and Davidovich coordinate their next moves. It's not a delay Napoleon would have tolerated if the shoe had been on the other foot. When the Austrians finally advance, it's bungled. Hohenzollern's vanguard approaches Verona to investigate reports of a French retreat. This isolated division is too tempting for Napoleon to ignore. He orders Augereau and Massena to attack. They inflict 400 casualties, but Hohenzollern escapes to a ridge near Caldiero. The next day, Napoleon orders renewed attacks. But conditions are atrocious. The French struggle uphill into driving rain and hail.
And not to be someone to give a horrible foreshadow, but in Napoleon's last battle, going uphill, especially when a rain hits the ground and terrain, it's not good. It's not good. A place called Waterloo.
Their boots slipping in the mud, under fire from Austrians dug in on the ridgetop. Around noon, Colonel Dupuy's 32nd Demi Brigade finally gets onto the ridge. It looks like the French may be able to lever the Austrians out of their position. But then, the Austrian army begins to arrive in force to support Hohenzollern's hard-pressed division. The French are in danger of being outflanked on both wings. They take up new defensive positions and hold the line until darkness, when Napoleon cuts his losses and orders a retreat to Verona. It has been an unequivocal French defeat, Napoleon's first in battle. The following day, he writes furiously to the Directory in Paris. He has no doubt that they are to blame for his defeat, for repeatedly failing to send reinforcements. We may be on the verge of losing Italy. None of the expected help has arrived. The army of Italy, reduced to a handful of men, is worn out. The heroes of Lodi, Millesimo, Castiglione and Bassano have died for their country or are in the hospitals. The men have nothing left but their reputation and their pride. We are abandoned in the depths of Italy.
Damn.
But despite his apparent despair, Napoleon has already devised a plan to strike back. A breathtakingly bold move that will spawn one of the greatest of Napoleonic legends. With the Austrians converging on Verona, Napoleon decides to risk everything on a daring surprise attack. Leaving Macquart to cover Verona, he will circle south with the rest of the army, cross the Adige River and swing north, threatening to cut Alvinci's lines of communication and capture his artillery, baggage and supplies. Such losses will force Alvinci to abandon his advance.
Go. Do it.
Marching overnight, Augereau and Massena arrive undetected at Ronco. Augereau's men cross the Adige on a pontoon bridge and begin moving north. But with marshland on all sides, they have to stick to the narrow, raised causeway, just 20 yards wide. And when they reach Arcole, where they must cross the bridge to continue north, they find it held by 2 Croatian battalions. Horribly exposed on the causeway, and under heavy fire, the French troops take cover behind its reverse slope.
Come on.
Reinforcements are sent up, but they too are pinned down by the weight of fire from the far bank. Colonel Lannes had discharged himself from hospital that morning in order not to miss the battle. He now attempts to lead a charge, but is hit in the leg. The fiery Augereau refuses to accept defeat and orders another attack. But his men are exhausted and demoralized, with 3 generals wounded. The attack at Arcole has stalled. When Alvinci hears gunfire from the south, he assumes the French are making a feint to divert him from his own planned attack on Verona. But then comes alarming news that the French have crossed the Adige in force and are behind his left flank. He sends 2 brigades to attack the French bridgehead and diverts Mitrovsky to reinforce Arcole.
Oh no. Come on, Napoleon.
Massena's division, moving northwest to protect the flank of the advance, runs straight into the Austrians at Bionde. At first, the Austrians have the better of it. But a disastrous friendly fire incident triggers panic, and Massena drives the Austrians back up the causeway. Napoleon is increasingly concerned by the hold-up at Arcole. If they cannot break through, Alvinci will have ample time to redeploy and prevent any advance. He now orders General Gueux to take 2 regiments, cross the Adige at Albaredo, and lead them up the eastern bank of the Alpone River to hit Arcole from the south.
Maybe that's what they should have done from the beginning, but okay. Push forward.
He himself rides to the bridge to try to get the attack moving. He finds hundreds of French troops sheltering behind the causeway, unwilling to face the Austrian fire. General Augereau grabs a standard and begins to advance. This highly romanticized depiction was painted 2 years later. "Grenadiers," he cries, "come and seek your color." In reality, none had the courage to follow him. Then, the commander of the Army of Italy himself draws his saber, picks up a standard, and runs forward. There is withering fire all around. Several men fall wounded. His aide-de-camp, Colonel Murat, is killed. Another aide-de-camp, a Polish officer named Sulkowski, recalls, "The soldiers saw him, and none of them imitated him.
Wow.
I was witness to this extraordinary cowardice, and I cannot conceive it." With the French infantry refusing to follow their officers, the assault on the bridge ends in abject failure. A well-timed Austrian counterattack drives them back down the causeway. In the rout, Napoleon's horse loses its footing. He tumbles into the swamp and has to be hauled out by his aides. That evening, General Gueux launches his attack on Arcole from the south. The defences are less formidable on this side, and his men fight their way into the village.
Good.
Arcole, at last, has fallen. But that night, Gueux's men are ordered to pull back. Napoleon is preparing to retreat. If, as he expects, Davidovich has continued his advance down the Adige Valley, Napoleon must withdraw now or face encirclement. His bold maneuver appears to have failed. Then, at 4 a.m., Napoleon receives a report from Rivoli that changes everything. Not only does Vaubois still hold the town,
I like how through the storytelling and through all the information and detailed battle maps, you're at the edge of your seat here, folks. I'm rooting for Napoleon here.
hasn't even been attacked yet. Napoleon's line of retreat remains secure for at least a few days more. It's all the reassurance he needs. He immediately cancels his retreat and issues orders to attack. Napoleon has lost the element of surprise, and Alvinci is now planning his own counterattack.
Oh boy.
Overnight, his troops edge forward. Provera to Belfiore di Porcile, Mitrovsky back into Arcole. Both armies are on the move before dawn. Massena sends skirmishers into the marshland. When the Austrians arrive, bunched up on the causeway, they make easy targets. After a sharp fight in which an Austrian general is killed, Massena's men are driving the enemy before them. Augereau, however, cannot get close to Arcole. The causeway is still swept by Austrian musket fire and canister from across the Alpone.
Come on.
Napoleon orders troops to cross downstream at Albaredo. But the Austrians now have 2 battalions guarding the crossing point.
Ratzenheimer.
French attempts to float or swim across the river come to naught. Day 2 of the battle ends in stalemate. Many soldiers have to camp amid the marshes and get what food and rest they can. Napoleon will try once more to break through, but he is running out of time. Davidovich, who by now has received several urgent requests from Alvinci to advance, finally attacks on the 17th of November. Vaubois' outgunned division breaks. The Austrians take Rivoli and 1,000 prisoners, and nearly capture Vaubois himself.
Damn it.
With Davidovich on the move at last, Napoleon must force a decision at Arcole or retreat.
Come on, Napoleon, you can do this.
The bridge at Arcole has proved too tough to crack. So Napoleon switches tactics. Augereau's division will cross the Alpone and attack Arcole from the south in force. A column is sent 10 miles south to cross at Legnago, and then race back up the eastern bank to support him. Massena will advance up the causeway in support, while also protecting the left flank.
All right.
That night, the French assemble a pontoon bridge over the Alpone. Augereau's division begins crossing before dawn. But at sunrise, Austrian gunners in Albaredo spot the bridge and score a hit, knocking it out of action. Only the 51st Demi Brigade is across, though it gamely begins to advance on Arcole.
Oh no.
Massena's advance is also hamstrung by a broken pontoon bridge. To add to the crisis, the Austrians launch an attack on the fragile French bridgehead.
No.
Napoleon gathers every available gun to blast the Austrians, who fall back under a withering barrage. The bridges are quickly repaired.
Come on.
But as the French advance, they encounter stubborn opposition on both sides of the Alpone.
Go.
A bloody seesaw battle surges back and forth along the causeways. Neither side can deploy its troops, nor gain an advantage. Around 3 p.m, the French column from Legnago arrives, threatening to turn the Austrian flank.
Come on, Napoleon.
Just as Arcole seems about to fall, the Austrians launch a ferocious counterattack across the bridge. Brigadier General Robert is killed. His troops fall back in disarray.
What's wrong with you?
Panic is contagious. Augereau's men lose their nerve and fall back to the bridge. The moment of crisis has arrived. But while the enemy has just used his last reserves, Napoleon can call on Massena's unengaged troops,
Come on.
including the elite 32nd Demi Brigade.
Come on.
Their sudden counterattack turns the tide. Massena's men sweep up the causeway, taking scores of prisoners, as Augereau's division resumes its advance.
Yeah!
As they approach Arcole, Napoleon arranges a small ruse de guerre. 25 of his elite escort sweep in from the east, blowing bugles to feign a mass cavalry charge.
That's right.
In the evening light, it's enough to scare the remaining garrison into abandoning the village.
All right, you can get out of here. Roll!
As the French continue their advance, Alvinci orders his exhausted, demoralized army to retreat east, to Montebello, to protect its lines of communication. The three-day Battle of Arcole has been a messy, bloody affair, with no great tactical flourishes. Napoleon's margin of victory is narrow, and a third of his army are casualties. But he has done enough, for now.
It took good luck to defeat Alvinci.
Alvinci
Very
may
true.
be withdrawing, but Davidovich remains a threat. The next day, Napoleon sets off at his customary pace with Massena's division to reinforce Vaubois. Augereau takes a different route to threaten the Austrians' line of retreat. The confusion that follows between Alvinci and Davidovich verges on farce. Alvinci writes to his corps commander, informing him that he will support him by resuming his advance. But Davidovich, having heard of the defeat at Arcole and now directly menaced by Napoleon, is already retreating. On receiving Alvinci's letter, however, he tries to turn his army around, leading to such chaos that he has to immediately countermand that order and resume his retreat. The end result is that both Austrian armies are soon withdrawing. And with exquisitely poor timing, gallant old Wurmser chooses this moment to launch his supporting attack from Mantua. He does at least secure some much-needed supplies, at a cost of 800 casualties. It has been a bruising campaign for Napoleon. By some estimates, he has lost more men than the Austrians. He has suffered his first defeat in battle, and won a costly, messy victory at Arcole. But he has beaten the odds, and thrown back the enemy. What's more, his heroic conduct at the bridge at Arcole will soon take on a life of its own. Artists and pamphleteers turn a slightly embellished version of events into a sensational piece of personal PR that captivates France.
And that's how Napoleon became epic. What do you think I was going to say? Dynamite? Come on.
With Napoleon's active encouragement, the world is witnessing the birth of the Napoleonic legend. A powerful force that will inspire loyalty and devotion for many years to come. For now, both armies settle into winter quarters, as December brings bitter cold and heavy snow to northern Italy. In Mantua, the Austrian garrison is near its limit. Starvation beckons, though Wurmser is determined to hold out to the last. The Austrians will have one last chance to save the city. A final offensive to decide the outcome of the war in Italy. A big thank you to PMF Productions for their help creating this series and charting Napoleon's movements across northern Italy. We highly recommend their YouTube channel featuring their own detailed series on Napoleon's Italian campaigns, which you...
So, folks, what can we learn from this? First of all, Napoleon's got that good luck. Now, we are still in the beginning, so we dare not talk about Waterloo and the end. But this has been such a phenomenal series. We're going to keep on pushing forward with Epic History TV and covering the entire Napoleonic Wars. That's right, you heard it from me first. We're pushing forward. We're not quitting. Did Napoleon quit? No. He turned the battle around, and I got to say one thing. We got to be dynamite, just like Napoleon. So please be sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. But if you want to be a hip, cool cat that's also dynamite, support Epic History TV. Look at all the time, effort, energies that is being made into making these awesome videos. So please get to it right away. If you don't gotta get it, if you don't get it, go figure out. Drink water, keep on winning, keep your heads on a swivel, duck and dodge when the musket fire is happening, and secure the high ground. I'll see all of you on the flip side. Bye-bye.